So these are going to be the notes for 4.2. If you haven't done so already, pause the video, open up Notability, and create a new note, entitle it 4.2 Notes, and save it under Unit 4 Ecology Notes. Here we go. So, limiting factors are something that is going to help a population be controlled in an area. Basically, what they are any biotic, so living, or abiotic or non living factors that restricts the numbers, reproduction, or distribution of organisms. So, let me give you some examples of these limiting factors that could occur here. So, if we're looking at an abiotic limiting factor, so like the non living things, these would be some specific examples that would restrict the numbers of a population and how things can reproduce and be distributed in an ecosystem. So, some specific examples, remember, these are things that are not living, would be the amount of sunlight. So, if you think about like a forest floor, there's a limiting factor there of the amount of sunlight that will reach the forest floor. So, that will prohibit some plant species from thriving and reproducing. The amount of livable space. If you think about an area where there's maybe been deforestation, where a lot of trees have been knocked down, now there's less trees for the birds and the other squirrels and other organisms to live in. So that could also possibly reduce the population in that area. Maybe some competition with other organisms that could be between each other, once again, for maybe space or other resources, as well as wildfires that may destroy habitat, other weather events like hurricanes, tornadoes, or a drought, earthquakes, and even air pollution are all examples of abiotic limiting factors. These are non living things that would prohibit a population from continuing to grow. So now some specific examples of biotic limiting factors, remember these are going to be like the living things in an area that will prohibit a population from growing and growing and growing, are the availability of food. Because once again, remember, food is going to be a living organism for many things, even if it's a plant, right? Or if it's an animal that will prohibit populations from continuing to grow. Maybe there are not enough mates to reproduce with. Maybe there are more males than there are females, or vice versa. So that could also be something that would be a limiting factor. That's a biotic one. Or furthermore, competition with other organisms for things such as food or mates or so the one thing you may notice here is that the competition with other organism falls underneath the abiotic and the biotic limiting factors. It depends on what the organisms are competing for, and that is going to be determining if it's an abiotic or a biotic limiting factor. So these limiting factors play a role in the carrying capacity of an ecosystem. And this is basically the largest population that an environment can support. This actually there'll be a maximum carrying capacity that an area can support that we'll look at more analytically when we're looking at how limiting factors impact populations. It can kind of fluctuate though, too. So, say there is a really great year where there's lots of rain and the vegetation is plentiful. So lots of herbivores will benefit from that. But then, say the next year, there's a huge drought that comes in and there's not a lot of vegetation, then the herbivores will die off. And so the carrying capacity in the area of for that year will change depending upon what's available there. But when we're talking about the maximum carrying capacity, we're talking about the maximum number of species that can be supported in an area before the population starts to decline again. So these are our notes for 4.2. I'm also going to attach a carrying capacity video that I think kind of helps further explain that as a supplemental video. So please watch that, and you can add anything to these notes that you find beneficial from that video. Thanks.